Hello, thank you for joining me. Today we're going to talk about DEI and cultural awareness. DEI work is a journey, not a race. You will hear me say this over and over and over. I want you to really think about DEI work is a journey. It's never ending. To learn about yourself, to learn about others is never ending. Some of us might be on a DEI journey a lot longer than others. Some of you, this might be your very first time thinking about, what does this even mean? Who am I? And that's okay. The key is staying on this journey to learn about yourself and others. When you think about diversity, this is what I want you to picture. Your first homework assignment, excuse me, is to write 1 to 2 sentences about each of these, describing you. So for example, I would put marital status, I'm divorced. For military experience, I would put 0. I've never been in the military. Religious beliefs, maybe you are agnostic. Maybe you're Catholic. Maybe you are more spiritual versus religious. All of these words, these prompts, is a way that we can look at someone and celebrate how diverse we are. I would imagine that not 2 people are alike 100% in every one of these circles. So how are you getting to know yourself? And then how are you getting to know others? Diversity. When you think about diversity, I want you to think about all of these ways that we are diverse. How are you learning about you? And how are you learning about others? Equity. If you look at this picture on the left, everyone was given 1 box. That's equality. See the difference? On the left, everyone was given 1 box, so that is equality. You could say Gina treated all 3 people equal. She gave them all a box. But can you tell that really doesn't matter for all of them? Some people need a little bit more. Some people don't need anything at all. See on the right, that's equity. See the person in the red shirt? That person didn't even need a box in the first place because they can still see over the fence and watch the game. But see, for the person in the pink shirt, they really needed 2 boxes because the 1 box, that person is still standing on their toes. And for the person in the blue shirt, having a ramp versus a box made that person be able to see. Can you see how some things in life are not equitable? And can you see how being equal doesn't help? So when I come from the lens of diversity, equity, and inclusion, I think of how are our students, staff, faculty, how are we being equitable across campus to ensure that everyone can be successful? And inclusion. See the top circles. This is what we would love to have. It's easier, though, to do the bottom 3. It's easier to exclude, it's easier to segregate, and it's easier to integrate. I hope that you can join me and you want to make everyone feel included. If you've never felt excluded before, it's not a good feeling. Please join me on your DEI journey to let people know that they matter. We are going to celebrate their diversity. We might need to give some people a little bit more for equity. And I want to embrace you so you feel included. If you're looking for a definition, diversity, a relational concept, recognizes that everyone should be valued for who they are and refers to the range of experiences and identities each person brings with them including but not limited to race, ethnicity, age, socioeconomic status, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity and/or expression, religion, national origin, ability, political beliefs, ideas, perspectives, and values. The fair treatment, access, opportunity, and advancement for all people is equity, while at the same time striving to identify and eliminate barriers that have prevented the full participation of some groups. Improving equity involves increasing justice and fairness within the procedures and processes of institutions or systems, as well as in their distribution of resources. Tackling equity issues requires an understanding of the root causes of outcome disparities within. That's equity. And inclusion is involvement in empowerment where the inherent worth and dignity of all people are recognized and welcomed. An inclusive environment which promotes and sustains a sense of belonging. It values and practices respect for the talents, beliefs, backgrounds, and ways of living of its members. So, diversity, equity, and inclusion. My challenge for you today and during your Butler career and beyond is to understand diversity, what you're bringing to the table, but what are others bringing? Sometimes we need to be equitable and equal, and how are we being inclusive? Let's talk about culture. Everyone has a culture. You have a language, beliefs, a custom, a ritual, a behavior that represents you. Maybe I come over to your house and what's a ritual or a custom? When I have to take my shoes off before I entered your house? Or would it be okay if I left them on? Would we sit at the table if you invited me over to dinner, or would we eat in front of the TV? We all have things that we're bringing to our interactions. So for me, if my, quote, usual breakfast might be scrambled eggs and bacon, but maybe yours is a smoothie, it's okay that we have different breakfasts. Can we, though, appreciate that yours is different than mine, and we can still move on? Where we get hung up with culture and diversity, equity, and inclusion is we tend to think that there's a right way and a wrong way. And there's really not a right and a wrong way. There could be something that is different to you, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong. Some people might do their hair differently. They wear different clothes than you. But remember, it's all based on you. How can you embrace the differences that people are bringing? How can you celebrate those differences and ask different questions? It's okay to learn more. If we think about how our population is changing, predicting from 2012 to 2060, our numbers are a little bit different by the time it comes to 2060. For example, the blue bar in the United States, the population in 2012, 63% white people, where in 2060 it will be 43%. Hispanic was 17, in 2060 it's predicted to be 31. Now you could say, well, I don't really care. That doesn't bother me. That's fine. What I want you to understand, though, is we are living in a world with other people. And those other people are bringing their diverse lens. They also want to be included. And they're bringing their culture. How are you adapting? How are you at wanting to learn more to be respectful of something that's different than you? Let's look at under age 18. In 2012, 53% to 2060, down to 33%. Over 65, white population is going from 2012, 79% to 56. Again, we could say, well, that doesn't bother me. I'm not going to be under 18 during those years. That's fine. What I want you to at least think about is you will be in the world with other people. What will that mean if we're looking at under age 18 is going down and under age 60 or over age 65? Some other predictions by 2050: less marriages. 1 in 5 will be divorced. Textbooks will be nearly obsolete in American schools. From 2010 to 2050, it is predicted that 50 million to 100 million will define themselves as unaffiliated with any specific organized religion. And 1/3 of the country will have diabetes. 40% will be overweight. Again, you could say, what does this matter to me? Well, it matters because our life, our culture, our language, our everything is always changing. How are you keeping up with those changes? Or are you one that says, we've always done it this way? I hope you can join me on the DEI journey to learn more about yourself and others, because doing things the same way all the time might not be the best way. In Indiana, in 2019, there were 20 hate groups that were tracked in Indiana. All of them, except the 3 that have something listed underneath them, are all anti-people of color groups. So, does DEI matter? It surely matters. There are people out there that hate people basically based on that they're different than them. I hope we can look at people for who they are, what they bring, and their diversity. Earnings. Let's imagine that a white man made just $1 an hour. So $1 an hour for 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year for 40 years. That white man is going to earn $83,000. The white woman is going to earn $64,000. The black woman is going to earn $50,000. The Native woman, $48,000, and a Latina, $44,000. The dates here in the parentheses, those are the dates of the following year that they would have to work just to equal that white man's dollar. Now, are we bashing the white man here? Absolutely not. What we're saying, though, is in our country, the white man is looked at the gold standard. So if he's making $1, we all want to strive for that dollar. But there are barriers in place that make it not be true. So again, for example, why is the white man making $1 and the white woman 77 cents? There's institutionalized barriers in the way that make this discrepancy. I hope that we all can understand the system that we live in and want to create a new system that's equal. This is called the cultural continuum. And it's actually on this slide and the next slide. And there's 6 colors you could be. This cultural continuum uses colors just so you can see, well, where am I? So during this, as I describe each color, I want you to think about, who are you? Where do you fall? If you think like the red folks, that would be your attitudes, behaviors, values, practices that are destructive. They're violent. You only believe that rights are for the dominant group. These are going to be folks who think a lot like the 20 hate groups that were tracked in Indiana on the previous slide. These are going to be folks who definitely hold up stereotypes, and they're okay with being violent. They are probably going to hang something on a wall to show a noose. Again, just think of violent folks. Now, again, that might not be you, but it might be someone that you know. Maybe that's your mother, your sister, whoever it is. Let's say you're orange. That means you lack of skill and knowledge to respond effectively to the needs of other people. You maintain those stereotypes and you do unfair hiring practices. So you're not as dangerous maybe as the red, but you're still not going out of your way to learn to be inclusive. You are going to, if you think a stereotype of people who are of color is X, you're going to still maintain that it's X. You're not even going to challenge that. Finally, on this screen, yellow. They believe in practice that support viewing and treating all people the same. They don't see color. They meet the needs of the dominant group. So you might have said that sentence yourself. You might say, oh, I don't even see color. Please know that that's a micro invalidation, and it's a very dangerous statement. You want to see color. You want to see people for who they are. So if I'm sitting here right now talking to a student who identifies as Chinese American, and I say to this student, oh, I don't even notice that you're Chinese American. I'm really invalidating all of the experiences that this student has had being a Chinese American. Here's the three where I hope you are constantly in all the time. And I put the arrows in because we're constantly in green, blue, purple if you are on a DEI journey. Green means you're assessing your needs. Your awareness about you are aware about cultural awareness. You're committed to make a change. You're exploring. This could be you sitting here now saying, gosh, you know what? I have never thought about this, so I'm going to start. I'm going to do this. Okay, you're in the green. The blue means you've done some work and you have accepted and you respect differences. You recognize individual and cultural differences and you seek advice. So an example would be maybe you're on a committee and the committee wants everyone to plan for a luncheon. Well, you want to be inclusive to everyone, so you might need to ask some help for people to make sure you aren't forgetting anything and you're being inclusive. So if I'm planning a lunch, I would want to know people's dietary restrictions, what time is good, what date is good, where should it be held, is it accessible to everyone? That's being in the blue. The purple is you hold culture in high esteem. You implement changes to improve services and programs based on cultural needs. You're there. You're the one saying, no, I want to do this and we need to do this, but we need to think about what's best for everyone. So I'm hoping you can identify yourself in one of these colors. And if you happen to be in, I'll go back. If you happen to be in the red, orange, yellow, and you don't want to be, great. Stay on your DEI journey. Or you could say, I'm fine. I'm in the yellow and that's where I want to be. Okay, I cannot force you to do anything. What I can say, though, is if you're in the yellow, orange, or red, and that's how you want to think, just be sure that you're not acting on that, because the community that we want to create here at Butler is one of respect and dignity for all people. I hope everyone can be here and they're in a constant green, blue, purple journey as I am. Here's what I would love for you to do. Do some personality assessments. Some of these you've already done. One is Myers-Briggs, Enneagram, DISC, colors. What I'd love for you to do is take one of these or all of them and then ask someone that you're close to take it as if they were you. So, for example, let's say one of the questions says, I like to make new friends. If I were answering that as myself, I would say, I love it. But would someone close to me think that that's how I would answer? What if I asked my mom to take this test for me and she read, I love to make new friends? She would need to read it, though, as Gina loves to make new friends. Would she say the same thing as me? I want you to do it in this way because I want you to see how you're perceived. So please take these assessments. If you have a journal, please journal about your DEI journey. Even if it's 5 minutes a day, 5 minutes and say, I learned this about myself today. I watched this new podcast today. Quick, doesn't have to be a long 5-page paper. And then get an accountability buddy. You've learned in the first video what that means and how important I think it is. So please do so. Here's some other resources for you. And I thank you for joining me in DEI and Cultural Awareness. This is your first module of 5, and I will see you in the next one.